Hello, RWorld, and welcome back to RWorldTalk. I am super excited this morning to introduce you guys to a very good friend, Mr. Eric Sain. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming here and spending some time with us. I know you're a super busy guy. You currently serve as Regional Vice President for NAR's District 5. National Association of Realtors, District 5, I should say, for anybody who doesn't know the anagram. Can you tell us about the areas that Region 5 covers and some of the things that you're working on in that region?
Sure.
In our region, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. So Region 5 consists of Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. So we have 4 states and 2 territories.
Okay.
It's the largest region for NAR, and we've got a history of working well together. I mean, Florida is a big state in that group, but we always find a way to share what we've learned with others and them with us. So we had our regional retreat recently where we get together with all the presidents, president-elects, and the AEs, the association executives from each of those areas, and really talk about what they're looking for in their area. What do they need? What do they need from NAR as far as assistance? How do I get that message back to NAR? That's one of the big duties that I have is, it's big communication. It's all about taking the programs, products, tools, services, all that sort of stuff to the region, and then taking the feedback from the region back to NAR. So, for instance, Mississippi was working on a lot of natural disaster stuff from the tornadoes that had gone through there. Georgia was working on insurance for agents. They were also working with big outreach. They were traveling to all of their associations. Their president was doing some traveling, so they were traveling to the different associations. So it's really about what they're doing that make their states click, and how can we share that knowledge with each other. It's a great group of individuals.
You get to go spend some time down in the Virgin Islands in Puerto Rico?
We did. That's where we had our retreat. So the retreat was all about advocacy, innovation, and research. So we brought in Helen Devlin from NAR, and she talked about a lot of the community grants that are available for states and locals to put on events and things like that. Inez Hegedus Garcia came in from the Miami Association, and she did a lot with prop tech and AI.
Very cool.
And then we brought in Dr. Jessica Lautz from the National Association. She's the deputy economist there, and she does a little bit deeper dive. So Lawrence Yoon gives us all the numbers on predictions and what's going on and numbers and stats and markets and all that sort of stuff. And Jessica really does the research on the people behind. So she talks with the buyers and the sellers and really gives us that kind of trend information that's so vital to us as agents.
Super vital. That's what's on everybody's minds. Where are the trends going, and what could we expect in the near future? Well, we just recently got back from the legislative meetings in DC. Is there anything new that I know what's new, but we want to hear from you. What's new and on the horizon that members should be aware of that came out of the meetings that we just had in Washington DC?
Sure. So our meetings here were legislative meetings. They were in Washington DC. We were back in the district this time, which was great.
Nice.
They had us over in Maryland last year, so it was good to be back actually in DC. I think we could feel a difference. But we did some things. We passed our annual budget. We did some change in some campaign rules. But one of the cool things that we did is we made At Home with Diversity, implicit bias training, and fair haven training for fair housing, all part of the necessary things you have to go through in order to become a director in future years. It's going to become a requirement now that you fulfill those obligations, which is great in today's environment that we're looking at.
Of course.
And then we did some proactive things. We supported some legislation that was anti-trigger legislation. We did some legislation on enhancing assumable mortgage products. And then we also did some supported legislation that will help with our supply of inventory. Things like capital gains, putting money toward renovating buildings that may have been office buildings, but we could turn them into housing. Any ways that we can find a way to increase inventory were a lot of things that were on our agenda this session. But one of the bigger things that happened was the Federal Housing Finance Administration chose to drop the upcoming fee on borrowers with high DTIs that was slated to go into effect in August. And they agreed to look at any other information on new fees that they may impose, like the ones that were going to be imposed on higher credit scores and mortgage down payments. So great stuff happening up there this year. We were all really excited.
A lot of times people ask why we get involved. They want to know, why are you taking time out of your busy schedule? Why are you leaving here to go to DC? But all those things that you just mentioned, they're incredibly impactful things for our realtor membership. They impact the way that you do business. They impact your ability to do business, and certainly help all the homeowners that we serve make sure that they can either stay in the property that they own, be able to find affordable housing, and then things like At Home with Diversity, implicit bias training, Fair Haven. I certainly voted for that because I already have all those things. They were already in my war chest. So,
it's perfect.
I mean, I think that everybody else should have that stuff too. It's certainly really good work that is done every time.
Well, that's all the behind the scenes stuff that you don't really think about. You know, when we're out there and we're conducting everyday business, you don't think about the people that are fighting for legislation that helps us behind the scenes. You know, that's their job every day to do that, to help protect us, sometimes from ourselves.
And C2EX, that was another thing that was added.
Well, they added a competency. So C2EX has 10 competencies, 11 if you're a broker. They just add an 11th one for us that's all on financial wellness. We always talk about how we should be using our money, what percentage should we put back into our business, and all those things. So they've created a competency now in C2EX for financial wellness that will roll out when the app comes out in November at our convention. We'll have that.
November. Watch for it. I think that that's actually such an incredible thing to add to C2EX, because I know from personal experience in the beginning of my career, financial wellness is not something that we really think about when we're out there as working realtors. You go, you make the dream of homeownership a reality for someone, and then you find out, oh, okay, I just got my commission check, but you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. You don't know how much of that is going to taxes, how much you should put away. You know, it's not like you have a W-2 position where all of the government's still taking out all these things for you and putting it in a 401k. So, I mean, those are certainly things that are definitely going to be beneficial for all of the memberships.
Well, and the other thing you think about is, as we age in this career and we start thinking about retirement, did we build a business that's worth selling?
Right.
So a lot of those things can also help us with the impact.
Awesome. Well, good job.
Yeah.
And I know C2EX was your baby, so that's exciting.
I was one of its parents. Let's say I was probably the fifth parent in line. There were many people that came before me, but but we got it where it needed to go so far.
Nice. For anybody who is listening, C2EX should be very easy for everybody to complete. So I would highly recommend going and getting that endorsement. So speaking of coming back from DC, I want to thank you specifically for your continued service to our membership. For anybody who hasn't met Eric, he works tirelessly for our industry. And you were just awarded a new position under our 2024 president, Ms. Tracy Casper, and made you the Vice President of
Association
Affairs. Okay, I knew I was going to get that one wrong. Vice President of Association Affairs. So as far as executing those new duties coming up in 2024, what is it that you're looking forward to? What does that job entail? Tell us a little bit about what the Vice President of Association Affairs is going to do for the membership.
So the Vice President of Association, so the incoming president of NAR every year gets to choose two people, and those are the highest non-elected positions at NAR. And this president, Tracy Casper, who will be president 24, asked myself and Nate Johnson from Missouri. I will be her vice president of Association Affairs.
And he's advocacy.
He is advocacy.
Okay.
So what that means is that we will be part of the leadership team.
Beautiful.
So we will be we'll be right there with the president-elect, and first vice president making decisions on the association. We will be able to vote. So we are voting members of the leadership team. We are involved in all the discussions and all the decisions that are made. But more importantly, as far as the roles of my position, we have 13 liaisons with the National Association. I will oversee 7 of those key areas, 7 of those liaisons. There are 94 committees at NAR, and the Association Affairs Vice President oversees 55 of those committees.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's everything from the AE Council, Global, Law and Policy, Commercial, MLS, Member Services, and Member Engagement are the 7. So it's pretty key areas of our association that will be under my purview. I just need to make sure that I'm at the right place at the right time, get the right information back to the leadership team, because nobody wants to be surprised.
No.
Right? We want to make sure that the information's out. Everybody's had a quick chance to digest it, reflect on it, comment on it, before it gets rolled out. Nobody likes those surprises, so I'll say I am chief fire detector on the
You're right.
NAR.
I luckily, we don't have positions like that per se here at the association, but I certainly have people that let me know when a fire is burning.
That's right.
So that I can get ahead of it, because when you're trying to lead a large organization, you are 100% correct. The last thing you want is a surprise coming your way.
You've planned everything so well, you want to make sure that it goes off without a hitch, and that's the last thing you need is somebody there trying to put a fire. So.
Right. So this leads me right into my next question. Obviously, you have to balance a large workload as it is running the Kai's office in Palm Beach Gardens, but now advocating for the realtor profession on a national level. So how do you balance your time, and what do you enjoy most about real estate?
Oh gosh, I don't know if we all are ever really balanced. I mean, we all say that we can multitask, but you can't really give two things 100%. So you're always giving a little less. So you just have to make sure that you're present at those things, making sure you know which hat you're wearing. I'd say I have a pretty good support system at home and at the office. So at the office, I've got about 110 agents there that are a part of my management duties. But the Kai's company is very supportive of that. They know that if we are out giving back to our industry is going to be better and make it easier for our associates and therefore the broker. So I think that they are very supportive of that. My partner, John, is very supportive. He understands why I have to do these things, and he's always been there. He knows that I want to leave things better, a little more evergreen than they were before, make it easier for the next person.
You've been doing a great job at that so far.
Thank you so much. But I think about what I like about the real estate is that it's a relationship business. You know, everything you look at is about creating that relationship, because you never know when the transaction may turn another direction. And if you don't have a good relationship with the people involved in that transaction, you can find yourself in trouble.
Yep.
If you think about a real estate transaction, you've got a buyer, a seller, maybe an attorney or two, a real estate agent or two. Then you've got a surveyor, a title processor, a closer, an inspector, a wind mitigation person. You know, and the next thing you know, you've got 12 people involved in that transaction.
Right.
And who does the buyer or seller look at when something goes wrong?
You.
They look at the agent, because we're the one that on the closing statement it says commission. Right. They don't see those other charges. So I think building those relationships is what really keeps me active and involved in the business.
Okay. Fantastic advice.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, how important the relationship is as well with the other agent that's on the other side of the transaction,
100%.
Especially when you're in a hot market where you've got multiple offers coming in.
Yep.
You want to make sure that you've got great relationships with everybody who's doing business in your area. So that way they see your offer come across the table and they say, you know what, I'm going to give Eric's buyer an opportunity to get this property, because they know that you've got a fantastic team that's behind you. Right. It's going to be easy to work with you, and it's going to be easy to work with your people.
You got to look for those hidden gems that's going to get the ball in your court.
Right. So if you ever decide to leave real estate, which I cannot imagine is in your future, but where I'm going with this, you certainly have a fantastic job as an MC. Thank you for emceeing my installation with your bestie, event. Christine. That was an awesome time for everybody. Yeah. So is there ever going to be a day that you turn down the association for doing your MC duties?
You know, if it's MC duties, if that's my highest and best use, I'm happy to do it.
On some nights it is.
It's just one of those things. It's always so fun. You know, especially the installations. It's a great time. Everybody's in such a celebratory mood, and it's such a great atmosphere. It's a time when we're all at our best. So to have friends up there that are helping you through the installation, and probably a pretty nerve-wracking time to some. Yeah. It's always good to look up there and see a friendly face. So I'm here for whatever the association needs from me. They've given me so much. I'm happy to do the small things and give back.
So I've seen you MC. I've seen you MC my installation. I saw you MC. Who'd you do? Carlos. You did with a group of us. Jared's you did, and your own installation up at Florida Realtors was
a little hand in that.
So much fun. Where does all that big stage presence come from?
You know, before I got into real estate, I had another life. So for 30 years, I worked as a professional entertainer in the entertainment industry. I was a professional dancer. I was classically trained, tap, ballet, and jazz.
Oh, that kind of dancing.
5. Yeah. No poles involved, Chris. This is PG. But it's one of those things that I always felt like I always wanted wanted to see what was behind the scenes,
right?
And so I loved performing on stage. I have a degree in TV film production, so that was actually my degree in college.
Oh wow!
So I have a Bachelor of Arts there.
Okay.
I worked for TNN Studios for a couple of years right out of college in Nashville, Tennessee. I was on the show Primetime Country. I worked the back scenes for that, and I just found out that I liked the front of the camera as good as the back, and honestly, I was better in front of the camera. So I did a number of years professionally as a dancer out of Nashville was my region. I worked with Mel Greenwood, who was Lee Greenwood's wife, and did great gigs out in Nashville. I worked with a lot of great stars. I was one of Shania Twain's original backup dancers. I worked with Dolly Parton, the Mandrell sisters, a lot of old country names from the 90s that I was able to pal around with. So it was a great time. So I feel very comfortable on stage as well.
You exude confidence whenever you step up on a stage. It's just like your face lights up and it's go time. I've got a little bit of that in me as well. So it's cool to see that you've had such success with that. Now you could bring that to our members. Awesome. And I mean, every time we see you, it's always a good time.
Well, you got to make people feel good. If they feel good, you get better production out of them. So
of course.
Great.
So let's get to talking about the market. Yeah. What do you think is happening? How's the market doing in Northern Palm Beach? So you're in Northern Palm Beach County, right?
Yeah, Palm Beach Gardens is my office.
Palm Beach Gardens.
I've got agents that live in St. Lucie and drive to my office to come. I've got some that live down in Boca. So, I mean, they're really from all over. But Palm Beach Gardens is the area where our office is located. And just like throughout most of Florida, we've got inventory issues and challenges.
Right. And it seems like everybody keeps moving farther north. Miami people were going to Broward, then they started going to Palm Beach, and now people are going all the way from Broward, skipping Palm Beach, going right to St. Lucie.
Well, they're going Stewart, Sebastian. I mean, they're going all the way up. I have a client that I sold a property to 2 years ago. They moved here from Minnesota, bought a house in Port St. Lucie, paid $325 for it. Got transferred with a job. They're selling it now, and they're moving to Sebastian. And they're selling that $320,000 house for $505.
Wow!
In 2 years.
Wow!
They didn't have to do a lot to it. They're thrilled, but they are moving further north. She got a job in Vero. They couldn't quite afford Vero yet, so they're stopping in Sebastian. And that's just what it's like. People are finding the places that they can afford to live. But like Mike Pappas always says, we will marry the house and date the rate.
Right.
When you find that place, it's time to go.
Right.
You can always refinance. You can always do things with the mortgage rate. But when you find that right forever home, jump on it.
We've been telling everybody that for the last year, at least. Don't worry about the interest rate right now. Just find the house that you like. If we can even get you into a contract, because we've got 20 others waiting behind you, just find the house and we'll deal with the money later.
That's right. Yeah. But in our area, just like everywhere else, it's an inventory issue. We're just trying to find the right people that are ready to sell. And we've got more buyers than listings.
Right. So. Yeah. And do you find that it's hard to get a seller to sell because they're holding on to that cheaper interest rate now, saying, well, why am I going to go out and get out of this house?
That's one of the things that we're working on now with NAR to get some assumable mortgage programs out there so that people could take over that mortgage if someone's got a great interest rate. But we've got more sellers. I think they're really not sure where they're going to go. If they stay local, they're going to spend a lot of the money they make on possibly even downsizing to a smaller house.
Right.
So it's those kind of issues that we're trying to deal with that are helping sellers realize that it's time to sell.
Okay.
Because the buyers are there.
What do you think is going to happen with FHFA and what they're doing as far as that assumable mortgage? Do you think that this is something that's going to happen rather quickly?
Well, I think we've got to work with the lenders on that. Where FHFA can help us is really on those fees that they were going to charge people with good credit scores. So as long as they are agreeing to look at those kinds of things, I think that will be helpful to us through what they're doing.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it's assumable mortgage is not something that we've heard. There's actually a few. I'm talking to people who are members that in recent memory. And certainly in the last 10 years, we haven't heard anything about assumable mortgages. That's a thing of the past in a day when interest rates were much higher.
That's right. So they'll be able to redesign something like that for us. We think that'll help.
We had a few weeks back, Manuel St. Germain was here, and he was talking about a lot of the different mortgage products that are coming out, the 3-2-1 buy downs and that sort of thing. And it was interesting to me because I didn't realize this, is that FHFA and they basically come out with programs as programs are needed. And those programs come out when they need them. They sunset them when they don't.
That's right.
Yeah, and that was something interesting because, since I've been in real estate, everything's just been 30-year amortized mortgage, the very basic conventional financing. outside for something like an FHA, VA, something like that. Assumable mortgages and those different loan programs have just not been around.
Right. And we find that it's time for people to be creative, not predatory, but creative. Mm-hmm. So when you find that house, there are creative ways you can do, like you said, the buy down. There are lots of things you can do to get that interest rate where you need it to be affordable until you're ready to refinance.
Right. And predatory, that was one thing that you just said that reminded me of the presentation at NAR when we were talking about the trigger leads that we are now trying to make go away and have some legislation that's in place. And for anybody who doesn't know, it was basically you're going into a third-party online platform to put in highly sensitive personal information for that information to be sold to a lender, but we don't know who's got a hold of that information between point A and point C. Yeah. I mean, where is the end of the line there? Yeah. And where is that personal information going? So that is super interesting stuff. And it just leads back to why it's so important that we do what we do when we're volunteering, because somebody's got to take care of all this stuff. Exactly. The homeowners don't know how to do it, and the majority of realtors don't realize that they could have a hand in making these decisions. So really good idea for you guys to get involved with your association and make sure that your voice is heard, and you could take the word from your consumer and bring it up to the top. So that way when we're talking to legislators, we can make sure that our voice is heard and these things get done.
Real estate market happens every day. We choose whether we participate in it or not.
I've had my first broker said that to me. If you wake up in the morning and you are not doing something in real estate, you wake up every morning you wake up unemployed. When you start doing something in real estate, now you're re-employing yourself again that day. It's up to you to wake up the following morning and be employed.
Yeah, Kevin Sears, our first vice president of NAR, he used in his travels, he would always say that to us. I love being part of the profession where I wake up every day unemployed.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously you're super influential when it comes to real estate and our real estate world. Whether you believe it or not, you are super influential. You're too humble, so you never take it. Yeah. But what motivates that passion to serve? What is it about you that you see when you wake up in the morning that says, I've got to make a difference in this industry?
I really try. I don't think that while one person probably does make a difference and it takes one person to make a stand, I really like being part of that team because I think that one person can only do so much. You know, you've got to start relying on people around you. So I always try to make sure that I've got a really good support team around me for the people. You surround yourself with people that are smarter than you are. Right. So I've always got that support team around me that I can phone a friend anytime I need to, if I get myself in trouble. And so I really like that collaborative teamwork side of real estate. I love that part of the business.
Well, that's why I call you with broker questions from time to time. I've got the same mentality. I'll go and call the smarter guy in the room. Why not?
Yeah. But I'm the kind of person, so I was president of the local in 2008, which was a great time to be in real estate, right?
Oh,
we all know what was happening to the market at that time. So then that's when I really started digging in to say, what makes this industry work? How are we going to be successful? What's it going to take? How are we going to get out of this? And I started seeing a lot of the behind the scenes team members who were working every day to make sure that we had the right information so that I could, when newspaper reporters would call me, I had great things to say, and it was never a doomsday type scenario, even though inside you were like, holy moly, what's going on here? It was great to see that. So I started looking at what makes the association run, and that's what keeps me going, is everybody that you don't see. It's that collaborative teamwork that keeps that machine moving. That really inspires me to keep going. I love it for that reason.
Okay. I know that you're super, super busy, so we're not going to take up too much more of your time, but I do want to ask you, because we've had many different answers to this question. It's something that I ask everybody when we do these podcasts. Tell me about a little South Florida gem, someplace that you've been to that you don't think a lot of people know about, whether it be a favorite beach spot, coffee shop, nice place for dinner. You know, what is it that, and it was so funny because we had Sam DiBianchi on the show a few weeks back, and she said, if you're listening right now, you need to head to this place immediately because every time she says that something's good, then all of a sudden she's got to wait in line next time she goes there to get in. So, like, don't give us your best. You can give that to me after these microphones are off.
There you go.
I'm just kidding, everybody.
I was talking to John the other night, and I said, you know, there's so many new things happening, and we live in West Palm Beach. And I said, there's so many new things happening in West Palm Beach, new restaurants that have opened, new galleries, all kinds of new stuff. And I said, we really need to start discovering our own city again.
Yep.
So we've made it a point that once a week we do something in West Palm Beach that a restaurant we haven't been to or something like that we just haven't done. So recently we went to the top of the Hilton that's downtown, and they have a restaurant there called the Treetop Lounge.
Okay.
And it has a great northern view of the city, but we sat out there for a couple of hours with some friends, and I was like, I had no idea that this was even up here.
So the Hilton where? Palm Beach Gardens?
Yeah, no, downtown West Palm Beach.
Downtown, the one by the convention center.
No, well, there's a second one. It's over. Is it the Hilton or is it the Hyatt? The one that's over off of
I could be totally wrong and screwing you up.
Yeah, no.
Off Quadrille.
Yeah,
Okay.
Quadrille and Dixie, that area.
Yep.
There's a hotel there, and they've got a restaurant on the bottom. I think it's a Hilton or it's a version of one of their derivatives.
Yep.
But they've got a great rooftop bar. So I like finding those small places that you can just kind of be with a limited group of people, but still have great views and surroundings. The top of the Ben Hotel is great.
Yep.
They've got a great rooftop bar up there and pool. That's always great to find little things.
We've spent a few nights there.
We have been there before. So, but they're always doing some great stuff down here. We had the boat show recently. We had what Sunfest happened. So lots of great stuff happening downtown. Always.
Right
we're
on.
just we're rediscovering our own town.
Yep.
We've been there for I've been in South Florida for 25 years and in my house for 19.
Okay.
And it's like you forget what's around you. You just become so routine. And it was time to rediscover something new in our area. So that's what we've been doing.
I want to get a group of people together, and I want to go to a place called Guanabanas.
Oh, you haven't been there?
I have not been there.
We'll do it.
Somebody had just told me about it, and they said they've got great bands, and it's like a really cool vibe.
Always.
Okay. So we got a couple new places to check out, everybody. You heard that right here. Eric, thank you so much for spending your time with us today.
Chris,
it's exceptional to have you here. I think, guys, if you see Eric on the street, can you please stop him and say hello? Not in a creepy way, but he's doing so much for our industry that you really need to thank him. Thank you. Awesome. We're blessed to have you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time on RWorldTalk.
Bye-bye.